Hi, I'm Jenny Schottmiller, CPA and family therapist, and today we're going to talk about what you can deduct when you get professional photos done for your business. I just got my professional photos redone today, and it was an involved process, and there's a lot of different expenses I incurred, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to explain what you can deduct and what you cannot deduct. Before we go through the specifics of the expenses you might incur getting your professional photos done, we need to talk about the IRS definition of a business deduction. The IRS requires that to deduct it, an expense must be both ordinary and necessary for your business. For an expense to be considered ordinary, it needs to be common or acceptable in your trade or business. So think about your profession or the industry that you work in. Is this an expense that a lot of other businesses might incur in order to operate and run the business? If so, it's going to be considered ordinary if you can find lots of businesses that incur that type of expense that are similar to your business. For an expense to be considered necessary, it needs to be both helpful and appropriate for your trade or business. So think again about other businesses that are like yours, and do they typically need to incur this type of expense? It doesn't have to be like, I had to buy it or it's absolutely needed. It just needs to be that it was useful in furthering your business activities and making the machine work. Photography absolutely meets both of these requirements because every business has some photo somewhere of the team or the owner. Even if all you need a photo for is the About Me page on your website, you are welcome to get that photo to be a professional photo. It doesn't have to be a selfie. It could be a selfie. If you want it to be a selfie, it could be a selfie. But if you want a professional photo for that, by all means, get a professional photographer and get a professional photo. But these days, there's so much activity online in social media and marketing materials, and you might have brochures and business cards that you need a photo to. So there's lots of uses for professional photos. So you don't really have to worry about the photos themselves, but there are a lot of things that go into it that could be either not allowed or questionable deductions. The other component of an IRS business deduction is that it can't be personal. There are many aspects of getting professional photos done where the cost could be considered personal. So we want to look carefully at this because we really only want to deduct things that are going to be allowed by the IRS. It's never fun to be audited, but if you are ever audited, you want to be able to prove that you had allowable deductions and that you didn't have a lot of things that you weren't supposed to deduct, and now you have to pay not only the tax on it, but interest and penalties. One of the first things I did when I started to prepare for my photo shoot was to get some new clothes. Very common to get new clothes for a photo shoot. Unfortunately, we all need clothes all the time. We need some casual clothes, we need some dressy clothes, so buying new clothes is not considered a business deduction. What the IRS says about clothing is that if you can use it outside of work, then you can't deduct it. Here are some examples. If you need a suit because it's appropriate for you to wear a suit at work in your business when you're showing up that every day, you can also wear a suit to a wedding. You can also wear a suit to a religious service. You can also wear a suit to a really nice anniversary dinner with your spouse. There's lots of places that a suit could be appropriate. So this goes for any business attire. Anything that you could wear outside of work, even if you don't plan to, even if you don't want to, even if you don't think you ever will. The fact is if you buy a nice cardigan or a nice jacket or some nice pants, and then you get invited out to a reunion dinner, you might wear those things. You could wear those things. You have the option to wear those things. And therefore, no regular clothing can be deducted. What you can deduct for business clothing is safety gear and anything that is clearly never going to be worn outside of work. So one example of that is if you are a party entertainer and you buy a clown suit. You're not going to wear a clown suit on a Saturday afternoon to run to the grocery store. You're not going to be seen sitting in, a wedding wearing your clown suit unless it was like a circus wedding. So it's very unlikely that you would wear something like that outside of work. So costumes and things like that. Another example would be safety gear. If you need steel toe boots because you work in an environment where your toes could be crushed and damaged if you didn't have them, you're not going to wear your steel toe boots to a holiday dinner with family. you're gonna save those for work. And the same goes with any safety gear, protective gear, goggles. If you were a mechanic and you had your own business working as a mechanic, then those coveralls that they wear to protect their clothing aren't something that they wear to other events or when they have their day off. It's something you're only gonna put on because you had to go to work. Things like that you can deduct. And we're generally not gonna wear things like that in our professional photos. If you did buy safety gear or clown suit or other really specific work-related attire, and then after the photo shoot, you were gonna use it for work, then you could deduct it. But any kind of nice shirt or new pants or a dress or any kind of jumper and outfit of any sort that you could expect someone to be wearing in a casual setting at some point, not gonna be able to deduct it. One way to think about this to try to be okay with it is you're getting new clothes for business that you're going to get to use, and it's kind of nice to be able to wear these new clothes you bought for your photo shoot to an outside personal activity or event. One other time you might be able to deduct clothes is if you rented clothes just for the photo shoot. If there was a place you were able to rent outfits from and you were gonna rent them for the photo shoot and then return them after the photo shoot, then I would say deduct that because it's not lasting past the photo shoot. You don't have an opportunity to wear clothing in a personal setting if you no longer possess the clothing. So if you decide to rent clothes just for a photo shoot, then I would say it's okay to deduct that. The measure here we want to look at for all of these expenses is, does it last past that day? If it doesn't last past that day, then you probably can deduct it. If it does last past that day, like clothes, you're going to be able to wear them for a while, then you're not going to deduct it because you get to have that personal benefit of owning those clothes, and it's not really just for business. Even though the business photos were the reason you bought the clothes, you have other reasons to buy clothes other times, and clothes, there's too much gray area for the IRS to say, yeah, let's let them deduct clothes, because some people would be like, I'm gonna have a photo shoot every 3 months and I'm just gonna, pay a couple $100, have someone take a few snapshots, and that justifies my clothes. And that doesn't work for the IRS. Another thing that I did in getting ready for my photo shoot was I went and got my nails done, my fingernails and my toenails. I got them all cleaned up, I got them painted. Even if you don't think that you might do that on a regular basis, you might get your cuticles cleaned up so that things aren't hanging off your fingers in your photos. But that's considered grooming. And what the IRS says is that grooming is something that all people do, not just business owners. And it's not really specific to that. It might be a reason to get your nails done, but you could have lots of reasons to get your nails done. And it's good to look nice and presentable, and the IRS doesn't think that that's enough business related to deduct it. Pretty much anything that's going to be for your mind, your wellness, your self-care, or your appearance or grooming, staying clean or looking nice is almost never going to be a business deduction. And the nails are gonna last for at least a few weeks, probably. It's not just something for the day of the photo shoot. So I wouldn't recommend deducting any kind of manicure or pedicure. Very commonly when we get photos done, we want to get our hair and makeup done. So if we need to do some ongoing regular maintenance and grooming for our hair, we're not going to deduct that. That includes haircuts, if you get your hair colored, things that are going to last past that day, and they're part of regular grooming, we're not going to deduct. However, if you have someone style your hair just for the day, it's going to wash out. I mean, maybe you don't wash your hair the next day, but it's going to wash out. And you're not going to get to keep that and keep getting the benefit the way that a haircut would last for weeks or months. So we can deduct having someone style our hair just for the day. To get our makeup done, if we go purchase makeup, it is available for us to use after the photo shoot. And so if we're doing our makeup, we need to buy a bunch of new items to do the makeup. We're not going to deduct that because we get to keep it after the photo shoot. However, we can pay a service fee for someone to apply makeup. When I went to my photo shoot today, the first thing we did, we had the makeup person. I don't wear makeup very often, and I don't have makeup, and I don't want to buy makeup. And even if I bought makeup, I'm not going to do my own makeup very well because I don't have any skills in that area. However, the professional makeup person had like 2 big bags and a whole couple of things laid out of makeup, and she had all kinds of makeup, and she worked her magic to make me look better. I am paying a fee to have her do that, whether I pay it to the photographer and the photographer pays her, or I pay her directly. I'm paying a service fee, and the service I got was makeup application. I don't have any makeup I keep. There's no product that I'm going to have after the photo shoot because I'm going to wash my face. So applying the makeup, that's what I'm paying for. And I can deduct the service of having someone apply the makeup and fake lashes and any kind of thing they're gonna do to your face to make you look better or make you look good for the cameras and under the lights. So you can deduct those costs. If it's a service fee, if it's gonna just be for that day, and it's not something that you're keeping after, you can deduct it. Another thing that you could deduct is your mileage to and from the photo shoot. You need to use either the standard mileage, which is a IRS mileage rate that is changed every year, or you have to use actual expenses. If you're gonna use actual expenses, it's not actual expenses for that day. It's actual expenses for the whole year. So you take all your gas for the year, business or personal, all your insurance, all your maintenance and repairs and oil changes and tire rotations and all the things you do to keep your car going for the entire year. And then you have your mileage log, which tells you how much you drove for business that year. So if you drive 20% for business, your car, of all the miles you drove in that year, 20% were for business, and you have to have a log that says this, and then you could take 20% of all your car expenses for the year. So you can't just take like the gas to get there. That doesn't work. If you're gonna do actual expenses, track all your expenses for the entire year, track your mileage for the entire year, and at the end, you'll figure out what you can deduct. However, the standard mileage is much easier. You do need a log, you need to keep track of your miles, but it's just your miles for that day times the standard mileage rate, and you can have your business reimburse you for that, and it should cover your gas and the wear and tear on your car for that trip. And that would be the round trip to and from the photo, including if you have to drive to the photographer more than one time. In my case, I went for advanced meeting, and we talked about what shots we were gonna do and what I wanted and what I didn't want and what outfits to bring and what else to have prepared. And so that was one trip, and then going today for the photo shoot was the second trip, and I could deduct both. Also, if you were running some errands to get ready for this trip, I had to buy, not clothes, not things that you're gonna deduct though. I had to drive here to get my hair and makeup done, then I had to drive here to the photographer. So then I'm gonna deduct those trips as business mileage as well. So overall, it's a good idea to get photos done for your business, periodically update them, and you're gonna incur some personal expenses when you do so and some business deductible expenses. If you wanna learn more about deductions and how they work, like and subscribe below so you get my other videos, and head over to my website, simpleprofit.com, where you can read my blogs and see other content and learn more, including frequently asked questions in my simple guide about all kinds of business deductions.